So I'm going to pass it on to Beck and Raymond.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see a room full of people and welcome people on Zoom as well. I'm Raymond, this is Beck, and we're from the Access and Inclusion Office at Murdoch University in Perth. This doesn't work. I'll just do it like this. Great. Before we start, I would like to do a small acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and Murdoch University is situated on the lands of the Noongar people, the Whadjuk and Bindjarra people, and we pay our respect to Noongar elders, to Aboriginal elders past and present. So just a little participant note, we will be doing a paper activity, which also you need some hand dexterity for that. We're in the room to help you if you need some support, so please feel free to reach out, or maybe some people at your table can help you as well throughout the activity. So we're not going to fully introduce ourselves. You can see our bios on the website if you like, but I'm Raymond and this is Beck. So today, we will basically learn about what we did at Murdoch University to embed universal design for learning in the curriculum. You experience UDL as a student through a more practical approach, a unique and creative immersive activity. And we will discuss our approach after and basically help you reflect on the experience and see if this is also something you could do in your own institution. First, we'll start with an overview of UDL at Murdoch. We started approximately 2.5 to 2 years ago with Universal Design for Learning, and we created 3 scaffolded workshops. First of all, the UDL Fundamentals, which basically is an overview of just the key principles. It's a very short presentation, 1.5 hour presentation to discuss the key principles. And we created the Level 1 and Level 2 workshop. The Level 1 workshop is the one you're going to experience today. And it's basically an experience for academic staff, teaching academic staff to experience UDL as a student. And we received some particularly positive feedback on that. That's great. This workshop, it was so different and academics were uncomfortable. They were surprised. They started talking about it within the institution, and that actually led to academic chairs or heads of schools just contacting us to discuss if we could do bespoke sessions for them. And that's how it basically grew. So it's great. We also shared some data, which is just a small sample size of the feedback we received, but that's because we had small numbers in the Level 1 workshop. So it's approximately 8 participants that provided us with feedback, but it grew to approximately 170 participants within the institution just attending our workshops. So we worked with all kinds of faculty, so psychology, Cairo, IT, so it's a wide range of people. It led to stronger relationships between our team and academic staff. They were comfortable just asking us for advice. They contacted us straight away if they were unsure about something or if they wanted to see if we can maybe give them some advice. We also made sure that we collaborated with several schools and they reached out to us as well. And right now, and that's what we're very proud of, it led to a 9-month UDL mentoring pilot. So the nursing school is up for course review. They have to review all materials and they will engage with us and we will mentor them to embed UDL. So it's basically great how this all turned out. So these are our goals. We will expand our UDL mentoring program into 2 new schools. We will also establish a UDL program lead who will drive the strategic implementation. We will engage new schools that we have not yet partnered with. And we will also revisit the schools that we worked with just to make sure that it stays up to date with UDL. So this is our workshop. Usually our workshop is for academics to experience it, but I will just quickly walk you through the workshop itself and you will experience the immersive bit with Beck. Who is it for? Well, it's basically for teaching academics who have some prior knowledge of UDL. So they usually already went to the UDL fundamentals one, so they know about the framework. They also maybe incorporated some UDL in their courses. But they want to expand their use of UDL when they attend our workshop. Our focus basically is to win over teaching academics. We also remind participants of what it's like to be a student because it's a paper activity. They're not very good at it usually. They also are quite uncomfortable with it. And just asking for help again, also just trying, failing, it's all there, a lot of emotions, which is very, very powerful. We also demonstrate UDL strategies that are quite practical. So they experience it, they see it, and they reflect on it and think, I can actually do that easily in my own course as well. So they take a lot of different strategies away. And it will also promote a sustainable approach. So we do the +1 method. It consists of an introduction, the immersive activity itself, and it will have a fair bit of reflection and discussion with the academics. The intro, it will just give a quick overview of the framework. So what are we talking about? Just maybe 10, 15 minutes. And we will also discuss why it's relevant and the purpose of UDL. So why are we actually doing this? Just to remind them. Most of the workshop consists of the immersive activity, which will mean that they will participate in the activity, and we will also make sure we guide reflection and evaluate their experience. And lastly, we will have a fair bit on the reflection and discussion. So they basically look at which strategies are demonstrated, what worked for me, what will work for my students, how can I improve this in my own teaching practice. And we will also discuss how do they basically can apply this in their own context. So I will just walk you briefly through the pillars and also what we did to make sure that they get our strategies. So when we're looking at engagement, multiple means of engagement, we have some hooks. So we introduce the immersive activity and we make sure that we get their interest and that we also create a connection with them. One of the hooks, for instance, is this video. We can't show it right now due to time constraints, but this video shows the application of paper folding in space. And we also talk about pedagogy. So if there are a wide range of different academics from different fields in the room, it will speak to either of them. So the practical application, basically. We will also make sure that there's a structured self and collective reflection activity for everyone. We're quite big on the marking rubric that we created. We have a marking rubric, which is quite surprising to a lot of academics. I think Beck will touch on that later on. So they have to set their own goals when they start the activity based on this marking rubric. And we will guide discussions with them as well throughout the activity. So it's very much self-determination that we promote. We nurture joy and play throughout the immersive activity. So they are welcome to try, they're welcome to fail, they're welcome to work in pairs, they're welcome to work by themselves. They can use different materials as well. So it's very joyful, playful, and it's up to them how they want to continue. And there are multiple entry levels to optimize the challenge. So we have the basic one, which is the easiest one. And we have a very, very hard one, which we don't recommend anyone who doesn't have any paper folding experience. There are quite a few academics there are quite a few academics that think, oh, well, I can do this, and they feel, and yeah, so it's quite hard. It's the same activity, but it's more complicated. So it's just levels of difficulty, basically. We also like to model representation to the academics. So first of all, we have all customizable content. So we just supply them with PowerPoints. We don't really supply any PDFs. They use Word, they have closed captions, so they can just use different formats. We also discussed that with them, and a lot of academics at Murdoch also started supplying just the raw material. So that's great. It really worked to demonstrate that. We have some physical exemplars. They're also at your tables, so they can actually touch what they're going to do. They can unfold it. They can try to replicate it if they're stuck. And we have them in several stages of the process. That's not at your tables today, but there are some over here as well. So if you want to see the not finished ones, just see the little steps, that's possible. We have multiple media options for the immersive activity instructions and resources. So we just used YouTube videos. We thought about creating our own videos to demonstrate it, but we haven't done that. And the YouTube videos are not perfect, but it's also great because academics get a little bit stuck sometimes, and that's what we actually want. We want them to think about what they need to have a proper instruction and complete the activity. We also explain the key vocabulary. This is a big one because many academics don't do this in their courses. And they realize when they're in our workshop that it's very important to discuss terminology, to also make sure that we're on the same page before we actually do the activity. So that's something that Beck will model as well in a few minutes. And we highlight the UDL strategies connect the practical application in academic teaching. So we have a workbook, and in the workbook, we just have some examples really of the things you could possibly see. So during the activity, they have a look at the workbook, they tick off the things they see. They can also write their notes about what they think, if this is something that works for them or if it doesn't work for them in their own teaching practice. You will also have access to this workbook online because it's shared. So I think you can access it, and the people at home on Zoom can also access it.
And Monique, did you send that out?
It will be shared in the Zoom. It's through a Padlet, and you'll have the links to the YouTube videos and the Word document with the instructions.
And we also do have some printed copies. We don't have probably enough for one for every person in this room, but there are hard copies as well.
Yeah. So we don't model every single thing in the workbook. So it's very much about just for them to realize the things we do, and sometimes they miss certain things, and that's just a reflection part as well. So it's just basically to start the conversation and reflect on the experience. We're not there to model the absolute perfect scenario, really.
And I should also add that the workbook that you guys have access to is the one that I've just recently upgraded to meet the 3.0 guidelines. This one here that's got the little screenshot, that was for the previous version. So we haven't actually run this workshop with the 3.0 guidelines before. So it is a simplified version from what we originally had.
So lastly, how did we embed action and expression? And this is quite a hard one because a lot of academics focus so much on the assessments. They don't focus on teaching activities, they focus on assessments. How do I incorporate UDL in my assessment? That's the first question we get. So we try to also basically give them the opportunity to think about how can I do my coursework very much so that students learn without the pressure of being assessed. So that's what we focus on in this session. First of all, we have a variety of tools to assist the paper handling. So they can use like a card thing, or they can use a ruler. We have all materials available for them during our workshops. There's a variety of ways to engage and respond in discussions. So we have a think, pair, share, for instance, which is safe participation. And we also use Padlet, which is a digital presentation, and they can have an overview of the different opinions in the room. So it's basically modeling different ways of interacting with the materials. We're setting goals using our marking rubric. That's quite new to a lot of academics, just setting a goal before you start the activity. We also discuss with them that it's helpful at the start of a semester, for instance, to set goals with their students, to help students also guide their learning by just maybe incorporating things in the Murdoch learning system. All those different, basically, thinking points we try to highlight. We highlight the importance of the opportunity to practice. So we also preach that it may be helpful to have a quiz with multiple attempts, or maybe no stakes. A student can just safely practice and try and fail and succeed before being assessed with the summative assessments. And we monitor support or progress by highlighting the value of formative feedback. So that could be, for instance, through our online quiz. So during the workshop, we basically get back to the learning outcomes through the quiz. There are no stakes, and they just safely participate on their device as well. We're not doing that today due to time constraints, but it's mainly to model something they can do in the room as well at the end of class, for instance. Did you actually get all the learning goals? Are you on track with your learning? Is there maybe something you need in order to make sure that you are up to date with the learning goals?
And I'll just add there that at the moment, my favorite quiz platform is Blooket. I'm really not a fan of Menti. I have a really difficult technical relationships with Menti. Kahoot used to be my favorite one, but they've now made it that you have to pay for it in order to get the good version, and it's just a pain. So just a little tip, I suppose, Blooket I have found to be really quite good.
Yeah. Yeah, so when we start our workshop and we talk about that we're going to do an origami folding activity, many academics think, oh no, that's not for me. Some of them get very excited, but afterwards they actually really value the learning that's in this, just to be in the seat of the student. So in order to experience that today, I will hand you over to Beck and see if this is something that you could also maybe do in your own institutions.
Okay, thanks, Raymond. Very good on timing, by the way. Well done. Okay, so what we wanted to be able to do today was really give you guys a little bit of a snapshot of the experience that we give our academics back at Murdoch University. So we're going to get you to have a go at this activity. This is just, like Raymond has mentioned, this is just a small portion of a 2.5 hour long workshop that we run. So it is quite extensive. We fit a lot of content into that 2.5 hours. But my favorite bit of the workshop is this paper folding activity. So what you're going to be asked to do today is to learn a fold called the Miura Ori fold. You've got some paper on your desks. On your desk, you also have the workbook. In the back of that workbook, you have got some paper instructions. You have a digital version of that workbook, which Monique has shared via the Padlet, which will be shared shortly. And there is also hopefully enough time for you to have multiple attempts. So don't be shy. If you mess up, start again. Our learning objectives are to identify relevant origami techniques. So I'm going to talk just very briefly about some folds and their vocabulary around that. You're going to create a 3D herringbone tessellation with paper using the Miura Ori fold technique. You can see a picture of it there in the red. And you're going to assess your own and another's work using the marking rubric that we have included in the workbook, either the digital version or the paper version you have in front of us. You can share workbooks with your neighbours as well. Okay, so we scaffold this activity in this way. You have a choice of 3 skill levels. As Raymond mentioned before, the beginner one is the one I always recommend. So in my past life, I was an art teacher. hence the art component of this. The really difficult one, I haven't even brought it as an example today because you just won't have enough time to do it. But it did take me a really long time to learn, and I got really quite angry quite often. And I have had academics attempt it and they give up very quickly. And that's a really good thing. I do that very deliberately because we want them to experience that struggle that students experience when they don't know something. So what I recommend you do today is you start with the easy one. You don't have a lot of time. But if you are somebody who has a strong paper folding background, maybe you're an origami expert, maybe you've done this before, you are more than welcome to try the intermediate version, which we have with us today. Or if you happen to have done this before, please come up to the table that I'll have set up at the front and you can be an instructor with me as I'll be doing some live demonstration and one-on-one instruction up the front. So as I mentioned, you've got the printed instructions, you've got a variety of exemplars as well. So on your tables, we've just put one because we don't have a lot of them, but you will have one of these. If you open it up, you can see what the finished product should look like. We've got self-paced practice as part of one of our UDL strategies. So you can do this as many times as the paper that we have brought with us will allow. We do have some extra paper that Monique has. It is thicker paper and it's not so easy to use. So do use the paper that's on your table first. And are they not in the back of the booklet? Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, we encourage peer-to-peer teaching. So what we've found in the past is that there's almost always one or two people in the room that get it straight away or are really, really focused and they can kind of work their way through that struggle. And then we encourage other people who are maybe not able to get there on their own to work with those around them in order to help learn as we go. Because there's so many of you in the room, we're definitely going to need those people to step up and help out with some peer-to-peer teaching today. Okay, so before you get started, and this is one of the reasons we never put the stuff on the table usually, because the minute that I say you've got stuff on the table, you all start grabbing it and everybody starts talking. Art teacher experience told me a very long time ago, don't put anything on students' tables. I do just want to clarify a couple of things for you. So we've got some very key terminology that you will benefit from knowing, especially if you have to ask for help. So mountain fold and valley fold. So our mountain folds are the ones that do this. The valley folds are the opposite. The Miura Ori fold is the whole thing done, so the tessellated look. And then tessellation, does anybody know what that means in here? It's just a repeated pattern, basically. It's a mathematical term. Some technical tips. So we recommend that you crease firmly and sharply. The paper we're giving you is quite easy to do that with. Do it as firmly and sharply as you can without ripping it though, because it isn't the thickest of paper. You can use a credit card or even like the side of your phone to help you with those firm creases if you would like. And then to remember that mountains are always easier to create than valleys. What that means is that once you've created mountains on one side, you can flip it over and create mountains on the other side. So you can always be creating mountains if you continue to flip your paper over. That will make more sense once you have a look at the instructions and start having a go. All right. The last thing I'd like to say to you before you have a go at this activity is there is a rubric. I am really passionate about rubrics. I'm really passionate about well-written, clear rubrics that are tools for students. Yes, they're tools for teachers. They help us be consistent markers. They help us focus our teaching as well. But they should be taught to our students just as much as we use them. They should be able to use them. So I'd like you to have a look at the marking rubric, either the paper form or the digital form. Have a bit of a look. Think about where your skill level is. Think about what I've just asked you to do. Decide for yourself, what's your goal today? You have 15 minutes for this activity. So it's not a long time. What is your goal for today? Think about that before you start folding. For all those people that have already started folding, I'm talking to you. All right, we're going to give you 15 minutes now to have a go at this activity. I will be over here and I'll be doing small group or one-on-one instruction. I can do a demo for anybody that just wants to have a look as well. And then Raymond, do you want to roam around the room?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Raymond will roam around the room. If you need help, by all means, put your hand up.
Yes. We can try. Oh, inside, okay. Yes, we can.
Thank you for that. All right, 15 minutes, guys, and then we'll see where we go from there. Oh, I should also, sorry, I forgot to mention, we have 3 videos as well. So Raymond did mention this earlier. The QR codes are up on the screen. The easy one says, I think the intermediate one says easy, but it's not, it's the intermediate. So trust the QR codes. They are what I say they are. They're not the best videos. I just want to say that. You'll probably find yourself that you might not love them, but there's a reason that we do that. And if there's anything that you need from us, we'll be here to help.
And it's in the Slido.
It's fine if you want to keep folding. I always, because this is one of those activities that people can get quite invested in. I had one person who spent the entire rest of the workshop, which had like another hour to go, persistently trying to get the folds right, which is perfectly fine. If you can do that and listen and you're going to get the, what you need out of the next part of it, very happy for you to do that. That's quite fun. What I want to do, though, is now have a bit of a look at what that experience was like for you guys. Normally, we do give our participants a bit more time than that.
Sorry.
Next one.
Next one.
Oh, no, sorry about.
This is about what we do. So the discussion, this is what we do in our workshop.
Oh, okay. Could you just go back to the marking rubric for me? So I'm just going to quickly go back to the marking rubric just to bring your attention to it, and then we'll move forward in our slides. So I asked you to set your goals before you started the paper folding. We got a little bit of feedback online saying that that's actually a really nice structure to attempting a new task. There's a few things that I'd just like to highlight. The main piece of feedback we get back from this activity is there's not enough time, and we recognise that. It's very deliberate in a way. We don't say in the marking rubric that in your 15-20 minutes you need to complete the mirror or refold. That is really, really deliberate. In our marking rubric, we're really specific with the words that we use. We really want people to pay attention to what the words in a marking rubric actually mean for the student. So we use words like consistently, we use words like 80%, so we give an actual measurable portion, which is still a bit tricky, to be honest, in an activity like this. We talk about what are the folds like? Does it fold neatly? Does it fold fully? Those are the things we're actually looking for, and those are the things we're actually assessing if we were to do a peer or a self-assessment or a summative assessment by the teacher. So it's really important, sort of an important key thing that we get out of this workshop from our participants is they acknowledge that the language in the rubric is really, really specific. Skip forward a couple. Oh, one back. What we do also at the end of the immersive part of the workshop is we do an online quiz to assess the memory of that terminology that I talked about at the beginning. So the mountain folds and the valley folds. We don't have time to do that today, unfortunately. We do a think, pair, share discussion using the strategy lists provided in that workbook that we gave you. And we look at doing verbal reflections on what worked well and what areas of improvement could be made to an activity like this, because as Raymond said, it's not a perfect activity and it's deliberately not perfect. So what we'd like to do now is to throw over to you. We think that this part of the workshop is actually one of the most important parts, because it gives you the opportunity, whatever context you're coming from, to have a think about how something like this might be able to be applied in your own context, whether you're a teaching academic or if you're like us, you know, in a space where we're actually teaching academics to use UDL. How can a hands-on activity, and doesn't have to be paper folding or origami, that's just an example, but the student experience, how could you potentially leverage that in your own context? So I've got 4 questions up on the board. We did want to do an inside-outside circle, but then we saw the room and went, that's not going to work. Does everybody know what an inside-outside circle is? No. So I'll quickly explain what that is. You have a ring of people standing facing in. You have another ring inside that circle facing out. So everybody has a partner. So Raymond and I would be facing each other like that. There'd be a ring and then an outer ring. And then you talk about whatever the prompt is. And then you have about usually 30 seconds to a minute to give each other's opinion. And then you shift. Well, one circle shifts around. And it allows really, really safe space for people to be able to express their thoughts and their ideas. We know that even in universities, there's people who aren't really comfortable with, you know, just sharing in a really big group like this, or even in a smaller group, they can be shy. So those kinds of structured activities we really promote, because it enables people to participate a little bit more equitably. The snowball variation is another one that I did have there as another idea, but again, we're just going to run out of time, so we won't do it. But that is where you pair up, you talk about a topic or you talk about a question, then you join another pair and you talk about it in a group of 4. Then you join another pair and another pair and another pair until the whole group's together and talking. So that's another. I'm really big on safety and creating a safe space for people to be able to participate in whatever way they can participate. Today, what we're going to do is just a simple group discussion on the tables. There's one question that I would like to have some input back, because I'm interested to hear what your responses are. And that is, have you tried anything similar to what we've done today? So that's what I would like to hear back from you guys, because I'd like to poach ideas if there are other ideas out there. For you, we've got the 3 questions of how do you feel throughout the immersive activity? Were you uncomfortable? Did you struggle? What was your emotional experience? How did you feel about the gamification or play-based type activities? And would something like this work in your own space, in your own institution, do you think? So we're going to give you, just 5 minutes to talk about that on your tables. Then I'm going to ask for, let's say, 2 or 3 hands, so volunteers. So I'm just prepping you to give us your ideas about if you've tried anything similar, and then maybe we can do a bit of a share. Cool. All right, 5 minutes group discussion. Yep. Okay, thanks everybody. Our people online are back in the room with us. Thanks so much. Really lovely to see so much conversation happening. That's really what we want to encourage out of an activity like this or out of an experience like this. So my question, have you tried anything similar? Are there any suggestions in the room or any ideas in the room of something similar? And Mike? Lady with the multicolored scarf. Sorry.
Hello, I'm Lauren. So I've done something similar, you know, the infinity knot.
Oh, yeah.
So where you tie 2 people together essentially and they have to undo themselves. So the focus of that was we were learning about professional communication. So I just I didn't tie them together. They're standing together and I said, undo yourself. You've got 5 minutes. And only one person did it. And then I went to a slide and there was or I gave verbal instructions without showing this is how you do it. And then a few more did it. And then I said, well, let me show you. And then, so breaking it down into different steps. By the end, everyone could do it. But
I love that
used
idea.
it that
That's
way.
great. Yeah, I've seen it done before. I haven't. Oh, I think I've experienced it maybe once myself.
If you've after a few, you know it.
Yeah. Thank you. Maybe one more.
Thank you. Hi, Danny speaking. So for orientation, we've previously done a bit of an escape room, and the idea was not so much the activity. We did design activities. So I'm from nursing, and they were activities to, encourage things that they would be learning in their first year. So fluid balance, documentation. But the activity was really designed around a lot of our students are very separate. They come to university, they leave. There's a couple of hundred students, but nobody knows each other. So it was to encourage the group work. But what I found and what I've learned from my colleague sitting next to me was that the only rubric we gave them was it's the quickest. And what that meant is, so I gave up and I made a plane, only because
there's always the next one.
You're on your rubric, you had marks for crisp lines, and I thought, okay, well, they're crisp lines at least. My friend over here did an amazing job, but got really annoyed with me because I kept chatting, and it made me think about when I did my escape room, that just with one rubric item of quickest, it actually created in some groups a bit of tension because they didn't know each other. And it might be, oh, I really want to get the most out of this. And Laura's like, we're on a time schedule, so move yourself.
Yeah.
So I think for me, having a rubric, even though it might not be explicitly told to the students, me having a rubric of what I want to get out of the activity is important.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is such a key thing. Like I keep going back to this marking rubric idea. We had some comments online about, oh, I didn't know that I didn't have to finish it. We always get that comment. I don't say it at the beginning very, very deliberately, because for me, that's a lesson that you've experienced. Then it's actually if I was really teaching that to my art students, I would say to them, this is not about you completing the entire piece of paper. This is just about managing to do a couple of rows. So I would clarify that with them. We deliberately leave a lot of holes, I suppose, in the way we present it so that it can be critiqued by the people that are experiencing it. So that is, we've talked about changing that and making it more perfect, I suppose, if there's such a thing. And we've decided not to, because we get the really robust conversations out of it, which is why we're here. So we're going to hand over for question and answer now. Yes?
Yes. So we have questions in the Slido, and our first question is, for the origami, would you say that your approach to UDL boils down to defining terminology, a marking rubric based on scaffolded outcomes, and multiple ways of learning the task, video, live demonstration, paper instructions?
I think that is a good summary. That's a hard question to answer off the cuff. What I do know is that I have spent a lot of time looking at CAST's framework and identifying, you see that in the strategy list that we've provided as a resource for you, identifying all the possible ways that we could potentially embed UDL into an activity that's as short as this. And it's actually very comprehensive. There's a lot of UDL strategies that we use in the full workshop. You guys didn't get all of it because you've only just had that for 15 minutes. So what I would say in response to that is that the workshop booklet with the strategy list is a pretty good idea of everything that we incorporate in the workshop. There's maybe a couple of things we don't do, but the majority of them we do.
It is 12 o'clock, but one last for the road. I'm trying to understand how this could be utilized in an online setting, as a lot of our academics interaction is via Teams or Zoom, as they are based all over Australia. So how would you implement it? Or your answer could be just reach out.
But specifically, if it's origami, if it's something hands-on, the cameras that you get, the document scanner type cameras that you get on your desk, they're fantastic. I have taught online. I really dislike teaching hybrid. I think it's extremely difficult, but just online, it would actually be able to work it almost the exact same way as what we did in person today with a document scanner or a document reader.
I think the main takeaway as well is that we're modeling a lot of strategies. So I think if you facilitate something online and you model different things, you make it authentic, you make sure that there is safe participation, that could also be quite a helpful tool for academics to reflect on. I think that the key with this paper activity is that not many academics are skilled at it. Not many people know about it as well. So it's uncomfortable for everyone, which the emotion really helps to get the discussion going. But online, you could do it with just an online activity, as long as you incorporate those modeling aspects.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Beck and Raymond. I don't know. So applause. This was a great workshop, very engaging. Everyone was engaged in the room with frustration in parts and also on Zoom. People have been working in groups and chatting away. So it was a really, really good and interactive workshop.